Let's be real. Life is chaotic. You wake up with good intentions, but then something sets you off. A rude comment, an unexpected bill, a craving you can't resist. Before you know it, your mood is all over the place, your bank account is running on empty, and your mind is working against you instead of for you. Sound familiar? Here's the truth. If you don't control your mouth, your mood, your money, and your mind, they will control you. And when that happens, you lose big time. But the good news, you have the power to change it. You don't need more willpower or motivation. You need awareness, discipline, and the right mindset to take back control. That's exactly what we're diving into today. Get ready, because this is going to shift the way you think, act, and ultimately the way you live. Words have power. Every sentence you speak, every phrase you repeat, and every thought you voice has the ability to shape your reality. Most people don't realize just how much their own words are either pushing them forward or holding them back. Whether it's the way you talk to yourself or the way you communicate with others, the words you choose create a ripple effect in your life. If you don't control your mouth, it will control you. Think about it. How often do you hear people say things like, "I'm so bad at this, I'll never be successful," or "nothing ever works out for me"? These might seem like harmless statements, but they're actually reinforcing failure, disappointment, and self-doubt. When you say something out loud, your brain hears it and starts believing it. Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a joke and reality. If you repeatedly tell yourself that you're not good enough or that you'll never achieve something, your mind accepts it as a fact and works to make it true. This is why negative self-talk is one of the most dangerous habits you can have. Beyond what you say to yourself, the way you speak to others also plays a massive role in shaping your life. Your words can build relationships, inspire change, and create opportunities, but they can also damage trust, cause conflict, and close doors. Every interaction you have, whether it's with your family, your colleagues, or even strangers, carries weight. If you're constantly complaining, gossiping, or being negative, people will start associating you with those behaviors. On the other hand, if you're uplifting, solution-focused, and intentional with your words, you'll naturally attract better relationships and more positive experiences. It's also crucial to recognize that the words you speak don't just affect others, they reflect your inner world. If your default mode is to criticize, judge, or lash out in frustration, it's a sign of deeper internal struggles. People who have control over their mouths understand that speaking out of anger or negativity doesn't solve problems, it only creates more of them. They know that their words should be used as tools for progress, not weapons for destruction. Controlling what you say doesn't mean suppressing your thoughts or pretending everything is fine. It means being intentional about how you express yourself so that your words serve a purpose rather than cause unnecessary damage. One of the most common ways people lose control of their mouths is through impulsive reactions. You get frustrated, and before you know it, you've said something you regret. You're in an argument, and instead of pausing to think, you blurt out hurtful words. Maybe you're stressed, and you vent in a way that makes things worse instead of better. This kind of behavior creates problems that could have been avoided with just a little self-awareness and restraint. The key to overcoming this is learning how to pause before speaking. A few seconds of silence can be the difference between deepening a connection or damaging it. When you feel emotions rising, take a breath. Ask yourself if what you're about to say will help the situation or make it worse. If it won't add value, it's better left unsaid. Another critical aspect of controlling your mouth is learning to speak with purpose. Every time you communicate, you have a choice. You can contribute to growth or you can contribute to negativity. Words should be used to uplift, motivate, and solve problems, not to tear down, complain, or spread toxicity. This doesn't mean you have to be fake or overly positive all the time, but it does mean being mindful of what you say and why you're saying it. Are your words creating solutions, or are they just fueling drama? Are you speaking with intention, or are you just filling space with negativity? These are questions worth asking before you open your mouth. Beyond avoiding negative speech, one of the most powerful habits you can develop is using your words to create the life you want. This is where affirmations and intentional language come in. If you want to be successful, start speaking success into existence. Instead of saying, "I'll never figure this out," say, "I'm working on getting better every day." Instead of "I always fail," say, "Every setback is a lesson that's making me stronger." This might feel unnatural at first, but over time, it rewires your brain to think in a more constructive and empowering way. The words you choose to say out loud will influence the way you think and ultimately the way you act. Controlling your mouth also means knowing when to stay silent. Not every opinion needs to be voiced, not every criticism needs to be shared, and not every thought deserves to be spoken. There's incredible power in restraint. Many people waste energy arguing about things that don't matter, gossiping about things that don't concern them, or complaining about things they can't change. Learning to hold your tongue in these moments saves you from unnecessary stress and drama. Silence, when used wisely, is a powerful tool that allows you to observe, reflect, and make better decisions. When you take control of your words, you take control of your life. You become more intentional about how you speak to yourself and others. You stop allowing negativity to dictate your conversations. You start using your voice to uplift, to build, and to move forward. Your relationships improve because people trust and respect someone who speaks with wisdom instead of impulse. Your mindset shifts because your words reinforce positivity instead of self-doubt. And most importantly, you begin to create the kind of reality you actually want to live. It all starts with awareness. Pay attention to how you speak. Catch yourself when you fall into negative speech patterns. Make it a habit to pause before reacting. Choose your words with care. Speak in a way that aligns with the person you want to become. Because once you learn to master your mouth, everything else starts falling into place. Your mood dictates more than just how you feel. It influences your decisions, your interactions, and the way you experience life. It's easy to assume that emotions just happen to us, that they're out of our control, like the weather, but that's not true. While you can't stop emotions from coming, you can control how you respond to them. And if you don't take control, your mood will run your life in ways you don't even realize. Think about how many times a bad mood has affected your day. Maybe you woke up feeling irritated, and suddenly everything seemed to go wrong. The traffic felt worse, people annoyed you more than usual, and even simple tasks felt overwhelming. That wasn't because the world changed overnight. It was because your emotional state influenced how you perceived everything. On the flip side, when you're in a great mood, life feels lighter, problems seem easier to handle, and you attract positive experiences. The circumstances might be the same, but the way you feel about them makes all the difference. Many people let their mood be dictated by external factors. If something good happens, they feel happy. If something bad happens, they feel upset. While this reaction is natural, it becomes a problem when you live at the mercy of your emotions. Life is unpredictable. There will always be challenges, frustrations, and unexpected events. If your emotional state depends entirely on outside circumstances, you'll constantly feel like you're on an emotional roller coaster. With no control over how you feel, that's exhausting and unnecessary. The key is to stop letting your emotions control you and start learning how to control them instead. The first step in mastering your mood is self-awareness. You can't control what you don't understand. Most people go through life reacting to their emotions without questioning where they come from. But when you take the time to recognize your emotional triggers, you give yourself the power to respond rather than react. Ask yourself, what situations tend to put me in a bad mood? Is it a certain type of person, a particular environment, or a specific thought pattern? Once you start identifying these patterns, you can begin to disrupt them before they take over your day. One of the biggest traps people fall into is believing that their emotions are facts. Just because you feel something strongly doesn't mean it's the truth. Your mood can be influenced by so many factors: lack of sleep, hunger, stress, or even the way you're breathing. If you wake up feeling unmotivated, that doesn't mean you're failing in life. If you feel irritated, that doesn't mean the people around you are the problem. Your emotions are temporary, but when you let them dictate your actions, they can create lasting consequences. That's why learning to separate feelings from facts is essential. A huge part of mood control comes down to managing your physiology. Your body and mind are deeply connected. If you're feeling down, anxious, or overwhelmed, pay attention to what's happening physically. Are you slouching? Is your breathing shallow? Have you been sitting in the same spot for hours? Small physical shifts like standing up straight, taking deep breaths, or moving your body can have an immediate impact on your emotional state. Exercise, even in small amounts, is one of the fastest ways to improve your mood. It releases endorphins, reduces stress, and helps reset your mental state. The way you treat your body directly affects the way you feel, so taking care of your physical health is non-negotiable if you want to stay in control of your Another major factor in mood control is the way you talk to yourself. Your internal dialogue has the power to lift you up or tear you down. If you constantly feed your mind negative thoughts, I'm not good enough, this is too hard, why does this always happen to me? Your emotions will reflect that negativity. But when you consciously choose better thoughts, I can handle this is just a challenge, not the end of the world, I have the power to change how I feel, your mood shifts in a more positive direction. This doesn't mean ignoring reality or forcing toxic positivity. It means training your mind to focus on solutions rather than problems. Another critical aspect of mood management is learning to create emotional distance from stressful situations. When something triggers a negative emotion, most people react immediately. But reacting in the heat of the moment often leads to regret. Instead, practice stepping back and observing your emotions before acting on them. Ask yourself, is this emotion helping me or hurting me? Will this matter a year from now? What's the best way to handle this situation? Taking a pause, even for a few seconds, can completely change the way you handle your emotions and prevent unnecessary drama in your life. People often underestimate how much their environment affects their mood. If you're constantly surrounded by negativity, whether it's the news, toxic people, or an uninspiring workspace, it's going to be much harder to maintain a positive emotional state. Be intentional about what you expose yourself to. Create an environment that supports a better mood. Listen to uplifting music. Spend time with people who inspire you. And eliminate unnecessary negativity from your daily routine. You have more control over your surroundings than you think, and small changes can make a big difference. At the end of the day, mood control is about taking responsibility. It's easy to blame a bad day on external circumstances, traffic, deadlines, rude people, but that mindset keeps you stuck. The truth is, you have a choice in how you respond to every situation. You can let frustration ruin your day, or you can decide not to give it that power. You can let a single setback derail you, or you can choose to move forward anyway. Taking control of your mood isn't about being happy all the time. It's about not letting negative emotions take control of you. This is a skill that takes practice, but the more you work on it, the easier it becomes. Start paying attention to your emotions instead of being controlled by them. Question negative thoughts before accepting them as truth. Use physical movement to reset your state when you feel stuck. Train yourself to pause before reacting. Surround yourself with positivity. These small actions, done consistently, create massive change. When you control your mood, you control your life. You no longer waste time being angry over things that don't matter. You stop letting small inconveniences ruin your entire day. You develop resilience, confidence, and emotional intelligence. And most importantly, you gain the freedom to live on your terms, because no situation, no person, and no challenge will ever have the power to dictate how you feel. Money is one of the most powerful forces in life. It affects your choices, your opportunities, and your overall sense of security. Yet, for many people, money feels like something they have no control over. They spend impulsively, struggle with debt, or live paycheck to paycheck without a clear understanding of where their money is going. The truth is, money doesn't control you, you control money. But if you don't take charge of your financial habits, you will always feel like you're at the mercy of your bank balance. One of the biggest mistakes people make with money is letting emotions dictate their financial decisions. It's easy to spend when you're stressed, bored, or trying to keep up with others. Emotional spending feels good in the moment, but it often leads to regret and financial stress later. Many people convince themselves that they'll deal with their finances later, but the longer you ignore your spending habits, the harder it becomes to regain control. The key is awareness, knowing exactly how much money is coming in, where it's going, and whether your spending aligns with your long-term goals. Financial discipline starts with understanding the difference between needs and wants. Most people know this on a basic level, but in practice, emotions blur the line. You might convince yourself that a luxury purchase is a necessity because you deserve it, or that an impulse buy is justified because it was on sale. But real financial control means being honest about what truly matters. It means prioritizing the essentials, housing, food, savings, before spending on things that only provide short-term gratification. This doesn't mean you should never enjoy your money, but it does mean making intentional decisions rather than mindless ones. One of the most powerful habits you can develop is tracking your expenses. Most people underestimate how much they spend because small purchases add up quickly. A coffee here, a subscription service there, these seemingly minor expenses can take a huge bite out of your finances over time. When you track every dollar, you start seeing patterns in your spending. You begin to recognize where your money is leaking and where you can make adjustments. The simple act of paying attention creates a shift in your financial mindset. You become more conscious of your spending choices, and that awareness alone can lead to better decisions. Another essential part of taking control of your money is creating a budget. Many people resist the idea of budgeting because they see it as restrictive, but in reality, a budget gives you freedom. It allows you to spend without guilt, knowing that your financial priorities are covered. A good budget isn't about depriving yourself, it's about directing your money toward the things that truly matter. It ensures that you're not just spending on the present, but also preparing for the future. Without a budget, it's easy to fall into the trap of spending aimlessly and wondering why there's nothing left at the end of the month. Saving money is another habit that separates people who are in control of their finances from those who struggle. Many people think they can't afford to save, but the truth is, saving isn't about how much you earn. It's about making it a priority. Even if you can only put aside a small amount, the habit of saving regularly builds financial security over time. Emergency savings are especially important because life is unpredictable. Unexpected expenses like car repairs, medical bills, or job loss can throw your finances into chaos if you're not prepared. Having a financial cushion gives you peace of mind and keeps you from relying on credit cards or loans when life throws surprises your way. Debt is another major factor that keeps people from taking control of their finances. Not all debt is bad. Some, like a mortgage or student loans, can be an investment in your future. But consumer debt, especially high-interest credit card debt, can be a financial trap. The problem with debt is that it creates the illusion of having more money than you actually do. It allows you to spend beyond your means, but at the cost of your future earnings. The longer you carry debt, the more money you lose to interest. Paying off debt should be a priority because the more financial obligations you have, the less freedom you have to make choices about your own life. One of the most overlooked aspects of financial control is the importance of increasing your income. While cutting expenses and budgeting are essential, there's only so much you can save. At some point, the best way to improve your financial situation is to earn more. This could mean negotiating a raise, developing new skills, starting a side business, or looking for higher paying opportunities. Many people stay stuck in financial struggle because they believe their income is fixed, but in today's world, there are countless ways to increase earnings. The key is to stop settling and start actively looking for ways to grow. Your financial mindset also plays a huge role in how you handle money. If you see money as something that's hard to come by, something that always disappears, or something that's out of your control, you'll always struggle with it. But when you start seeing money as a tool, something you can manage, grow, and use wisely, you shift from feeling powerless to feeling empowered. The way you think about money influences the way you handle it. If you constantly tell yourself that you'll never have enough, that belief will shape your financial decisions. But if you start believing that you can take control, you'll start making choices that reflect that belief. Taking charge of your money isn't just about numbers, it's about freedom. When you control your finances, you have choices. You can walk away from a toxic job, take a vacation without guilt, or invest in opportunities that align with your goals. Financial stress is one of the biggest sources of anxiety for people, and most of it comes from feeling out of control. But that stress disappears when you take responsibility and start managing your money intentionally. The truth is, financial success isn't about luck or earning a huge salary. It's about habits. It's about making smart decisions consistently over time. Small changes like cutting unnecessary expenses, setting up automatic savings, and avoiding impulse spending add up to big results. The earlier you start, the better, but it's never too late to take control. When you control your money, you control your future. You stop living in a cycle of paycheck to paycheck stress. You stop making decisions based on financial desperation. You gain the confidence that comes with knowing that you're building something stable and sustainable. The sooner you start taking charge, the sooner you create a life where money works for you, not against you. Your mind is the most powerful tool you have. It determines how you see the world, how you react to challenges, and ultimately, the kind of life you build for yourself. Yet, most people go through life without ever learning how to control their minds. They let their thoughts run unchecked, bouncing between self-doubt, fear, and distractions, without realizing that every thought they entertain is shaping their reality. If you don't take control of your mind, it will control you, and not always in ways that serve you. The ability to manage your thoughts, focus your energy, and direct your mental state is what separates people who succeed from those who stay stuck. One of the biggest challenges people face when it comes to controlling their minds is the constant flood of negative thoughts. The human brain is wired to detect threats and problems, which means it naturally gravitates toward fear, doubt, and worst-case scenarios. If you let this negativity take over, it will drain your energy, kill your confidence, and keep you stuck in a cycle of overthinking and inaction. Most people assume they have no control over these thoughts, but that's not true. While you can't stop negative thoughts from showing up, you do have control over whether you engage with them. When a thought enters your mind, you have a choice. You can believe it and let it dictate your emotions, or you can challenge it and replace it with something more productive. Awareness is the first step in gaining control over your mind. Most people don't even realize how much of their thinking is negative or unhelpful because they've been running the same mental patterns for years. They wake up and immediately start worrying about their problems, replaying past mistakes, or doubting their abilities. This happens so automatically that they don't question it. But once you start paying attention to your thoughts, you begin to see how often your mind is working against you. The key is to interrupt these patterns. The moment you catch yourself spiraling into negativity, stop and ask yourself, is this thought helping me or hurting me? Is it based on facts or is it just fear talking? What's a more constructive way to look at this situation? Simply questioning your thoughts weakens their power and gives you the ability to redirect your mind. The way to take control of your mind is through focus. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. Social media, news, notifications, and endless entertainment pull your attention in 100 different directions. If you don't take control of where your focus goes, you'll spend your days reacting to whatever is demanding your attention instead of directing your energy toward things that matter. Every time you allow yourself to get lost in distractions, you weaken your ability to concentrate. On the other hand, every time you practice focusing on one thing at a time, whether it's a project, a conversation, or a goal, you strengthen your mental discipline. Controlling your mind means learning to control your focus, and that requires being intentional about where you direct your attention. Another major factor in mental control is emotional regulation. Your thoughts and emotions are deeply connected. Negative thinking leads to negative emotions and vice versa. When you let your emotions dictate your actions, you end up making impulsive decisions, reacting out of fear or frustration, and losing sight of your long-term goals. Learning to regulate your emotions doesn't mean suppressing them. It means acknowledging them without letting them control you. The best way to do this is to create space between feeling and reacting. When you feel a strong emotion, anger, anxiety, sadness, take a step back before acting on it. Breathe. Observe the emotion. Ask yourself if reacting impulsively will actually help you. This simple pause can prevent unnecessary conflicts, bad decisions, and mental stress. One of the most important skills in controlling your mind is learning to shift your perspective. How you interpret events determines how you feel about them and how you respond. Two people can experience the exact same situation, yet one might see it as a disaster while the other sees it as an opportunity. The difference isn't in the situation itself, it's in the mindset. If you train yourself to look for solutions instead of problems, to find lessons in failures, and to focus on possibilities rather than limitations, your entire experience of life changes. This isn't about ignoring reality or pretending everything is positive. It's about choosing the most useful perspective in every situation. Fear is one of the biggest obstacles to mental control. It stops people from taking risks, pursuing their dreams, and stepping outside their comfort zones. The problem isn't fear itself. Fear is a natural human response. The problem is letting fear dictate your actions. If you always wait until you feel ready or confident, you'll never move forward. The key is to act in spite of fear. The more you face your fears, the more power you gain over them. Over time, what once seemed terrifying becomes manageable and your confidence grows. Taking control of your mind means refusing to let fear make your decisions. Another crucial aspect of mental control is self-discipline. Your mind will always take the path of least resistance unless you train it otherwise. It will want to procrastinate, avoid discomfort, and seek instant gratification. If you don't develop discipline, you'll constantly struggle to stay on track with your goals. The way to build discipline is through small, daily choices. Every time you push yourself to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it, you strengthen your ability to control your mind. Over time, discipline becomes a habit, and the things that once felt difficult start to feel automatic. What you feed your mind also plays a huge role in mental control. If you constantly consume negative news, surround yourself with toxic people, or engage in destructive self-talk, your mind will reflect that negativity. On the other hand, if you fill your mind with empowering content, spend time with people who uplift you, and speak to yourself with kindness, your mental state will shift in a more positive direction. The input you allow into your mind shapes your thoughts, and your thoughts shape your life. Being intentional about what you expose yourself to is a key part of taking control of your mental environment. What you feed your mind also plays a huge role in mental control. If you constantly consume negative news, surround yourself with toxic people, or engage in destructive self-talk, your mind will reflect that negativity. On the other hand, if you fill your mind with empowering content, spend time with people who uplift you, and speak to yourself with kindness, your mental state will shift in a more positive direction. The input you allow into your mind shapes your thoughts, and your thoughts shape your life. Being intentional about what you expose yourself to is a key part of taking control of your mental environment. What you feed your also plays a huge role in mental control. If you constantly consume negative news, surround yourself with toxic people, or engage in destructive self-talk, your mind will reflect that negativity. On the other hand, if you fill your mind with empowering content, spend time with people who uplift you, and speak to yourself with kindness, your mental state will shift in a more positive direction. The input you allow into your mind shapes your thoughts, and your thoughts shape your life. Being intentional about what you expose yourself to is a key part of taking control of your mental environment. Mastering your mind isn't something that happens overnight. It's a lifelong process of awareness, discipline, and intentionality. But the more you practice, the stronger your mental control becomes. You start to recognize negative thought patterns and replace them with better ones. You develop the ability to focus, even in a world full of distractions. You learn to manage your emotions instead of being ruled by them. You build resilience in the face of fear and uncertainty. And most importantly, you stop being a passenger in your own mind and start driving your life in the direction you want to go. When you control your mind, you control everything. Your success, your happiness, and your future are all determined by your ability to master your thoughts. The people who achieve the most in life aren't the ones who never face challenges. They're the ones who refuse to let those challenges control their mindset. The sooner you start taking charge of your mind, the sooner you take charge of your life. Your mood is one of the most powerful forces shaping your daily life. It influences how you think, how you interact with others, and how you handle challenges. It determines whether you feel motivated or stuck, whether you approach your day with energy or exhaustion, and whether you take action or procrastinate. But despite its power, most people let their mood control them instead of learning to control it. They wake up and let their emotions dictate their choices, assuming that how they feel is something that just happens to them. The truth is, your mood isn't just an accident. It is shaped by your habits, your thoughts, and your environment, and with the right strategies, you can take control of it rather than letting it control. Your mood is one of the most powerful forces shaping your daily life. It influences how you think, how you interact with others, and how you handle challenges. It determines whether you feel motivated or stuck, whether you approach your day with energy or exhaustion, and whether you take action or procrastinate. But despite its power, most people let their mood control them instead of learning to control it. They wake up and let their emotions dictate their choices, assuming that how they feel is something that just happens to them. The truth is, your mood isn't just an accident. It is shaped by your habits, your thoughts, and your environment, and with the right strategies, you can take control of it rather than letting it control you. Your mood is one of the most powerful forces shaping your daily life. It influences how you think, how you interact with others, and how you handle challenges. It determines whether you feel motivated or stuck, whether you approach your day with energy or exhaustion, and whether you take action or procrastinate. But despite its power, most people let their mood control them instead of learning to control it. They wake up and let their emotions dictate their choices, assuming that how they feel is something that just happens to them. The truth is, your mood isn't just an accident. It is shaped by your habits, your thoughts, and your environment, and with the right strategies, you can take control of it rather than letting it control. Your mood is one of the most powerful. Your physical state also has a huge impact on your mood. Most people don't realize how much their body affects their emotions. Lack of sleep, poor nutrition, dehydration, and lack of movement can all contribute to feeling irritable, sluggish, or overwhelmed. When your body is run down, your brain struggles to regulate emotions, making it harder to stay positive and focused. Simple habits like getting enough rest, drinking water, eating nutrient-rich foods, and staying active can have an immediate effect on your mood. Movement, in particular, is one of the fastest ways to shift your emotional state. When you exercise, even if it's just a short walk, your body releases endorphins, natural chemicals that boost your mood and energy levels. The more you take care of your physical health, the easier it becomes to control your emotions. Another major factor in mood control is the environment you surround yourself with. The people, places, and even the media you consume all play a role in shaping your emotional state. If you spend time with negative, toxic individuals who constantly complain or bring you down, it's almost impossible to maintain a positive mood. If your environment is cluttered, chaotic, or uninspiring, it can subtly drain your energy and motivation. Even something as simple as the music you listen to or the content you consume on social media can influence your emotional state. Being intentional about your surroundings means choosing to be in places and around people that uplift and energize you rather than drain you. Small changes, like organizing your space, setting boundaries with negative people, or curating your media consumption, can make a huge difference in how you feel on a daily basis. Aspects of controlling your mood is the power of gratitude. Most people spend far too much time focusing on what they don't have, what's going wrong, or what's missing in their lives. This kind of thinking naturally leads to frustration, stress, and dissatisfaction. But when you shift your focus to what you do have, what's going right, and the progress you're making, your entire emotional state changes. Gratitude isn't just about being thankful for big things, it's about recognizing small, everyday moments of goodness. Training yourself to look for things to appreciate even in difficult situations rewires your brain to experience more positive emotions. Simply taking a few minutes each day to list things you're grateful for can create a noticeable shift in your overall mood. So deep by the way you start and end your day. Many people wake up and immediately reach for their phone, bombarding their mind with emails, news, or social media before they've even had a chance to set their own tone for the day. This habit puts them in a reactive state where their emotions are dictated by external influences rather than their own intentions. A better approach is to start your day with a routine that sets you up for success, whether it's stretching, journaling, reading something positive, or simply taking a few deep breaths before jumping into the demands of the day. Similarly, the way you end your day matters. If you go to bed scrolling through stressful news or thinking about everything that went wrong, you carry that negativity into the next day. But if you take time to reflect on what went well, unwind, and set positive intentions for the next day, you create a cycle of emotional stability. Your mood is also deeply affected by the way you start and end your day. Many people wake up and immediately reach for their phone, bombarding their mind with emails, news, or social media before they've even had a chance to set their own tone for the day. This habit puts them in a reactive state where their emotions are dictated by external influences rather than their own intentions. A better approach is to start your day with a routine that sets you up for success, whether it's stretching, journaling, reading something positive, or simply taking a few deep breaths before jumping into the demands of the day. Similarly, the way you end your day matters. If you go to bed scrolling through stressful news or thinking about everything that went wrong, you carry that negativity into the next day. But if you take time to reflect on what went well, unwind, and set positive intentions for the next day, you create a cycle of emotional stability. Wake up and immediately reach for their phone, bombarding their mind with emails, news, or social media before they've even had a chance to set their own tone for the day. This habit puts them in a reactive state where their emotions are dictated by external influences rather than their own intentions. A better approach is to start your day with a routine that sets you up for success, whether it's stretching, journaling, reading something positive, or simply taking a few deep breaths before jumping into the demands of the day. Similarly, the way you end your day matters. If you go to bed scrolling through stressful news or thinking about everything that went wrong, you carry that negativity into controlling your mood also means being mindful of how you talk to yourself. Your inner dialogue has a direct impact on how you feel. If you constantly criticize yourself, focus on your flaws, or tell yourself you're not good enough, your mood will reflect that negativity. But if you make a habit of encouraging yourself, celebrating your progress, and speaking to yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a friend, your emotional state becomes stronger and more stable. Changing self-talk isn't about ignoring reality. It's about choosing to focus on what empowers you rather than what weakens. Taking control of your mood isn't about being happy all the time. That's unrealistic. It's about developing emotional resilience so that you don't get stuck in negativity when challenges arise. It's about knowing that even when things aren't going well, you have the tools to shift your state, regain your focus, and keep moving forward. The more you practice mood control, the less you'll feel like a victim of your emotions, and the more you'll feel like the one in charge of your own. At the end of the day, your mood is a choice. It's shaped by your thoughts, habits, and environment, and you have more control over it than you realize. Every time you choose to reframe a negative thought, take care of your body, surround yourself with positive influences, or practice gratitude, you are strengthening your ability to manage your emotional state. The people who achieve the most in life aren't the ones who never feel down. They're the ones who know how to lift themselves back up. And once you learn how to control your mood, you gain the power to control the way you experience your life. Money is one of the most powerful forces in life. It dictates where you live, what you can experience, the opportunities you have, and even your stress levels. Yet, most people go through life without ever truly learning how to control it. Instead, they let money control them. They react to financial situations instead of proactively managing their resources. They struggle with debt, impulsive spending, and a constant feeling of never having enough. The truth is, money is neither good nor bad, it's a tool. When you learn to control it, it works for you. When you don't, it becomes a source of stress, limitation, and regret. Money is one of the most powerful forces in life. It dictates where you live, what you can experience,